So welcome back to our next segment of our true life ghost stories, and I have to warn you first and foremost, these are real ghost stories. So I just want to introduce a very special new guest. So this is Marcella. She comes all the way from Mexico. So say hello, Marcella. She's shy.
They can't see you.
Hello.
Here she is.
Hello. I am Adam's sister-in-law, and I've been living in the house for 7-8 months so far, and I've been experiencing some weird stuff, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Marcella. So, obviously this video is going to focus on Irish folklore because we've all experienced it. We've all had our grannies and our great grannies drill it into our heads for Irish folklore, but I think it'll be so amazing to have Mexican folklore entwined in everything, and obviously everyone who's living in this house that we're in, so Marcella and William, so whoever's living in this house, you will have stories and you can verify each of the stories, and I think it is incredible. So without further ado, I would like to let William have the floor and tell his ghost story.
It's okay, I can edit that.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll take the first section of Irish folklore, as our co-host Rose was saying. This is it seems like a lot of Irish descended people have these stories, and now I'm not gonna go into the whole fact of if it's real or if it's not real. I'm gonna go by the flame went up there. Sorry, I'm just gonna go on the fact that I'm gonna take these as a heart of how I heard them anyway, and take them as true. Because I don't think there's any reason for my grandmother or grandfather to lie about these things. It would make no sense. Plus, the story I'm going to tell is corroborated, and I think they're the most valid ghost stories, or paranormal experience stories, because it's different if you have one person talking about it and you can say, oh well, then maybe they made it up. But if you have two people who have no reason to lie about it and can spout the same story 50 years later of how it happened, because that's how much it, I wouldn't say traumatised, but it definitely affected them and how they continue to live their life. So this story starts in, Jesus, it must have been my granddad. He's dead, by the way. Now he died. Must have been the guts of 15, 16 years ago now. No, it's my granddad Fitzpatrick. Yeah. But Giger also has a story as well, but I'll tell this one, right? So my granddad Fitzpatrick, it must have been either the 40s or the 50s, because he would have been about 8 or 9 maybe, and they were down and in the same block of flats as you were talking about previously, which are built on a graveyard. They were playing cards after 12 down where there's something called a coal shed. A coal shed is like this big huge box where back in the day they would store the coal, because there was no such thing as central heating. It was the 40s and 50s Ireland, so
It turned into the pram shed.
yeah, it turned into a pram shed then later on, which you leave stuff in, like kind of like a junk shed, like a community type thing. So this was obviously back before it actually was back before electricity and stuff like that, because it was severely poor. Yeah, everyone was severely poor back then. Like Ireland was, I guess, a really poor place. So anyway, the whole legend was of playing cards after 12 is, there's an Irish saying, say you don't play cards after 12 because you're playing the devil. It's the devil's handbook then after 12 o'clock in the night, right? So they went down being like, oh, we're mad, we'll go down and play a few games of cards and all. And they were playing for a while, and then one of his friends turned to him and says, what's that light coming up from the field? Because they were playing in like a field. There's like a field beside, it's like a communal garden thing beside the block of flats, and there's 3 sections of flats. So they were playing in there because no one can see it when you're out there. It's off to the side. There's no windows you can look out. So they seen this like ball of light, and they were all like, that must be the police or something. Someone's got the ratting on us, and but obviously they were kind of like, oh, it's nothing. Like don't stress about it, because it wasn't moving. It was just kind of there, like in the foreground, like a ball of light. So they assumed then it was someone either just checking the garden, or they were sure it wasn't the police anyway. So they continued the game of cards, but the ball of light didn't get closer. It got bigger. So then they were assuming maybe someone's out there lighting a fire, or they at this stage they were just kind of grabbing at straws. They had no clue what was going on here. But all of a sudden, the ball of light became a ball of flame, and that's when they start to panic, being like, "What is going on here? This is obviously not normal." So they all kind of sprung up, and the ball kind of came towards them rapidly. So they all ended up running to the first block, which is it wasn't far away from the garden they were at. But when they got to the there's like a little opening where the stairs would be, and then it's pitch. Now keep in mind, it is the 40s or the 50s. Either way, the lights weren't installed until the 70s, so it was pitch black. After there's daylight, there's no light on these stairs. But they ended up trampling on each other. There was broken arms, broken noses, and that's what they seen a ball of fire blasted. It was a ball of light and it blasted towards them. It frightened them so much that they ran up the stairs and trampled on each other, and they ended up all in the hospital and stuff. And this is what I mean. You're probably thinking, oh, but a banshee is a woman, and but it also comes in the form of that as well. If you look into the folklore, she can basically the legend of the banshee is if you see a stray comb on the street, that could be a sign there was a banshee there, because it's usually an old woman combing her hair, and she's usually mourning the loss of someone close to you, or it could be you yourself. What you're supposed to do is, if you see a banshee crying or if you hear her crying, you're supposed to acknowledge her and say good night, ma'am, and continue along your way. But if you ignore her, the cries are supposed to get louder and stuff, and then either you yourself, it's usually a really bad omen of something in your family, someone's going to die or get sick, or you yourself are going to die. But I'm not sure what happened after that. I just know the story of what my granddad said, so I'm not sure if anything bad happened after that, or if anyone died, and I think I'll stem onto this by a really, really quick second one, okay? And this one happened years later to his son, and his son, like, he's a rough lad now. My uncle, he's not afraid of anything, okay? And he was walking up the stairs home from the pub actually it was. He had a bag of chips in his hand. I remember him telling me. And he went up, he got to the second flight of stairs, and keep in mind, this was still when the lights weren't great. It's really poor block of flats. And he heard crying on the stairs, and he was like, oh, that's really creepy. But he continued to go up the stairs, and he seen when he looked, you can kind of look around the stairs, because it's like the flights are really close. So when he peeked under the staircase and looked up, he seen a woman sitting there combing her hair, and he got such a fright that he climbed up. Now keep in mind, he's on the 3rd story. That's like, how would you equivalent that? Anyone know how to equivalent that here?
In terms of what?
In terms of height, how high you had to climb? He was on the top floor.
I think it's 50 foot.
Yeah, let's say.
People have died falling off.
Yeah, like a lot of people kill themselves jumping off. So let's say 50 foot. He climbed up a drain pipe. That's how terrified he was of what he's seen. Like Spider-Man. He climbed up a drain pipe and went in and told his ma, Rosie, like, that was the banshee. And I'm pretty sure, I remember hearing a story after that I can't remember who it was, but it was, I can't remember, it was one of my nanny's sisters or something like that, died really close after that. So it's just strange.
For anyone who doesn't know what the banshee is, it's a female ghost, and she has, did you already say that?
No, go on.
For anyone who doesn't know what the banshee is, it's a female ghost, and she wails and she cries, and she's faceless. Is she faceless?
People have different stories.
Yeah, but she's quite a large figure, a lumen figure that wails and cries, and she combs her hair. Again, I don't know whether you've ever seen Darby O'Gill, The Little People. So
just love that film.
I just know that film traumatized me. So the banshee traumatized me. I remember my 2nd class teacher told me about the banshee, and I slept in my ma's bed for about 2 weeks. But she's this lumen figure, and there's stories associated with it to say that if you've seen the banshee, as William has already said, if you've seen the banshee, it's associated with death. So if you see the banshee, someone you know is going to die, you yourself's going to die, you know, you don't fuck with the banshee. So and it's just, as you've already said, it's embedded into us that everyone has already seen the banshee. Everyone has stories that, you know, everyone has a scary fucking story that is about the banshee.
So basically, does anyone have any questions for me or queries of the validity of that story, or anyone want to say anything? Yeah, I'll pass it over.
So you were saying that they played the cards and stuff like that, but I know that the flats itself is There's someone fighting. That cunt. Don't say that to me and my pizza. So we had to pause our ghost telling stories because someone was outside trying to summon a spirit or fighting or there's something going on. But my question is, obviously, my family have grown up in the flats. I would have grown up in the flats myself. It's quite social. It's quite everyone knows everyone. Everyone has family kind of dynamic.
It's like a soap opera. Everyone
it's like a soap. It's like EastEnders. So my question is, would any of the older gentlemen, when after this all happened, would they have had a story, or the old ladies, or anyone that's in the flats, would they have had their own stories about this ball of fire, about playing cards after 12 o'clock? Would they have said, "Oh, you shouldn't have fucking done that. My Jimmy has, something happened." In that sense.
Yeah, there was a lot of actually, if you think about it, more of the that story would have been one of the stories in the flats that would have been told after other stories. This was one of the first instances of it.
That would have been the tale of warning.
Yeah, basically, yeah. What happened to my granddad would have been the beginning, and then after that, other people would have. After that, for some reason, a lot of people had other stories, which, obviously, as you said, it's a strong community in the flats. So yeah, but they would have not known of it, but then been able to corroborate, being like, that happened to me. So in that sense, kind of like, it was only after that generation then more people would have been like, oh, we seen, let's say, they'd call, like my uncle, he would have seen, I seen a banshee. That's what he would consider it as. But if you want to, and I know I'm hogging the mic now for 2 seconds, right? But this, and I will pass it along to Katrina now in 2 seconds. But this is a really, really quick one, right? Just speaking of cards after 12, I have a cool story about the Hellfire Club. Or will I leave it and we'll stick on Banshees? Or okay. Now the Hellfire Club it used to be an old gentleman's club and a mason club.
It's ruined now.
Now it's ruined. Yeah, it was kind of a secret clubhouse for drinking and doing stuff you shouldn't have been doing in a Catholic country after the hours of 12 o'clock, basically. So you used to play cards and one of the old legends in there is that the devil apparently appeared. It was a really, really bad. Now everyone who's Irish probably knows the story of that because it's been around donkeys, right? So the Hellfire Club, I'm about to lose my train of thought, but basically you're not supposed to be doing the devil stuff up there anyway, and that's what they were doing, right? And this one night, it was a raining night, and there was a banging on the door, and they were all playing cards and drinking and not doing stuff they should have been doing. And so they heard the knocking, and they answered the door, and they were like, the fella was like, "Oh, can I please come in? It's raining out. I'm lost." And they were like,
Yeah. I meant to, if someone knocks in your house, I'm sorry interrupting you, but if someone, I don't know whether it's even an Irish tradition or it's a Catholic tradition, but if someone knocks at your home after the witching hour, which is the hours from 12 to 3 in the morning, if someone knocks that's not in your family, if someone knocks that you don't know, or even if you're lying in bed and you hear knocks, you never answer them. You're not meant to answer it. So for these men to be sitting in the Hellfire Club, that it's a ruin of a house. So there is a door. Like if someone was to knock at it, you don't fucking answer. So
bear in mind as well, it's up kind of in the mountainous area,
which
would have been well known for, I suppose, people if they had murdered someone, kind of storing bodies up there, suicides, a lot of kind of nasty stuff went on up there as well.
So back to back to William's story about answering the door in the Hellfire Club.
Yeah, it's a very as they were, my co-hosts were saying, there's a lot of incidents. Well, a serial killer did dump a lot of bodies up there. Larry Murphy, a lot of his bodies were dumped up around there.
Really?
Around there, yeah. A few of them, yeah. And they were dumped around the Wicklow Mountains and around up there. I'm pretty sure that's where you. No, I can't remember. I'm getting off track, and we'll talk about serial killers in another episode. But basically, they answered the door, and the fella had a really, really long coat on, and it was the whole thing was strange because everyone who knew where the place was, that's usually only the people who would show up. So they were like, "This is odd. That how this person you've gotten lost, and it makes no sense." But obviously, Irish hospitality, they were like, "We're not." Yeah, they were like, "We can't leave this person outside. It's raining. He says he's lost. There's more of us than there is of him. We're probably safe." So they let him in, and they were continue playing their cards, and he was like, "Oh, do you mind if I join you for a game of cards?" And they were like, "It's no problem at all." And it turns out one of the people were cheating at the table, and he had I think I think he had one of the cards either under his foot, or he was pretending to do under the table.
That's right. He had them down under his foot.
So they were playing the cards for a while, and everything was going grand, and he was cheating, so he bent down to look to cheat, obviously, and the fella's feet were not feet, they were hooves, and he was like, so he kind of was like taken aback a bit and was like, what? So he jumped up and was like, what is going on here? Like, he obviously got a fright and was like, what is this? And with that, the fella said, you shouldn't have been playing cards after 12 anyway, and literally blew out, jumped so high he blew out the roof, and apparently that's why the roof of it isn't rounds. That's the story behind it.
I don't know whether anyone has ever seen Drag Me to Hell, but it's you know, the hooves are meant to be the devil, half man, half fucking goat or whatever. But the way you were saying that, and he jumped up. Do you ever see Drag Me to Hell? He dances on the table, but up real high. I would imagine that's what it's like. Jesus, I'd be out there.
But after that, anyway, the place after that incident, basically no one went back to it. That was it. That's how real they thought it was. So you know,
it's kind of a thing now. It's a well-known thing that obviously it's a tourist attraction and people do go to it because of the legends, but as well for a cult and stuff like that.
Talk about the witches and black magic people at the rituals.
There's a big thing about, I suppose, witches and stuff like that they would go up around special occasions and they would perform rituals. And it would be a well-known thing that you kind of don't go up there after dark or after certain hours, because you kind of don't know what you'd find. It could sometimes be witches doing rituals, occult stuff, could be people having sex, you wouldn't kind of know.
Junkies shooting up, you'd see all sorts.
Also, there's a theory that if there was a couple, we'll call it an all wives tale, will be kind of, because it's like it's who knows what's real or not. I did attempt this though, but I got scared halfway through. Okay, of course I did. So basically, if you walk around it backwards and say the Hail Mary 3 times,
I've heard of that. Yeah.
The devil is supposed to appear to you, and you're just cursed for life.
The devil appeared to you.
No, I did it twice and then shit myself and didn't do it. Although I'm not in good health ever since, I have to say. Really not in good health. But anyway, I'm gonna.
The Banshee.
But does anyone want to add anything in about the Hellfire Club or anything like that? I should actually.
I suppose I was going to add in that story after you told that, because that would have been well known to.
I will say as well, there was a radio program who did a kind of FM 104. If you're Irish, you'll know this, but they. Around Halloween time, they usually do like a Halloween special where they go to a haunted place and host the program there and do like seances and stuff, and they went there and there was a half dead goat up the fireplace and it fell out while they were recording. So that obviously was someone doing devil worship there, and occultists and stuff.
Obviously the skeptics were saying, oh yeah, of fucking course, that's, you know, theatrical element of it and stuff like that. Like, you're always going to get people that excuse me, you're always going to get people that's going to do it. So but obviously the folklore, and it's really, like we were already saying, Dublin in itself is quite a fucking scary place, and because it's so tight knit and everyone knows everyone, I don't know if any from Dublin can verify this, but there's so many folklores about the Banshee and everyone has their own rendition and everyone has their own interaction with it. So we're going to pass over now to Katrina because she has a scary story about the Banshee.
Yeah, well, I suppose it would have been one of those things that was in our family for a long time, that people would have definitely known and been scared of the Banshee. And like, I know people kind of think like that, they think of certain films and they're like, oh, the Banshee is like, it's almost like a comedic thing, but it would have been an old Dublin folklore, like this really scary thing. So I suppose one story that we would have in our family, my uncle, and he's told me this directly, he wouldn't be a liar of any sort, and he said that he was a child and basically he was stealing chocolate off his older sister. So he was up in the middle of the night stealing this chocolate, and he wanted to get rid of the kind of paper off it before she woke up so she wouldn't know that he'd stolen it. So in the middle of the night, he was outside at the front door, and he was...
I know with a certain uncle, he'd be quite religious.
He would be really religious. Spiritual. Yeah, he'd be quite spiritual. So he basically was outside and he was like basically just throwing away this kind of paper and stuff like that. Now, just with a bit of context, their house was actually facing this really old nursing home.
Wasn't he stealing food?
He was stealing food. He was Oliver Twist.
wait, hold on for a minute. Do you not know why he was out in the bins?
Yeah, he was stealing chocolate.
No, he was stealing a tin of peaches.
Well, the story I got told was she was stealing her chocolate. But basically, whatever he was stealing, he was a kleptomaniac. Anyway. But he basically, their house was facing this really old nursing home. It was really creepy. Like, had these big gigantic walls. It was really strange. But he was out throwing this paper away, and he's seen this woman. And the way he tells the story is, this was the nicest, most beautiful summer morning. There wasn't a breeze. The sun was coming out. It was just absolutely beautiful. And there was this woman standing in this long dress, and her hair was blowing in the wind, and it was blowing every which way. It wasn't like it was blowing certain directions if the wind was blowing it. It was blowing every single way. And she was combing her hair, and she was staring right into this nursing home. And he obviously got the shock of his life because he was only young and kind of didn't know what to make of the situation. But like that, he would have been told things about the Banshee. So he said, "Good morning, ma'am," didn't look her in the eye and walked away. And I think about 2 days later, his neighbour died. So that was kind of the thing that he was like, no, that was always the Banshee. And funny enough, my mum has a similar story where she had said that she was in bed, and it wasn't long after her dad had died, I think. And she was lying in bed and she heard what she thought were cats fighting. And a lot of Dublin people would say that, I suppose, cats fighting or, funny enough, cats having sex or foxes having sex, which is like this screaming, wailing sound. Sounds quite similar. So, we're getting a guest appearance from the Banshee herself. So she had heard this noise, and it was right outside the window. Obviously, she was on the second story. We had a two-story house. And she said it was right outside the window, and then all of a sudden it kind of went away into the distance, and she could hear it in the distance, and then it came back and then went back into the distance, and then came back and went back into the distance again. And she said it wasn't as if it was on the ground and things were moving. She said it moved so quickly that she actually couldn't say that it was something that was running along the ground. And to this day, she said she just said a prayer to herself, and she couldn't look out the window. It was always the thing that you couldn't look out at it. And if I'm going to lead on to another story, I also have an aunt. And I don't know what it was. There was this kind of thing about, say, our grannies and granddads. So it'd be the people who were born and raised in like the 40s or 50s.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Is this the auntie that I'm thinking of that is just like the most badass person? Like our house was, the house was robbed and she was like, "Oh, son, it's alright. Like, love you. God is with you." Or was this the one that...
No, that's my great auntie. So we'll get on to her. But my actual auntie, she had this story that basically when she was like 8 or 9, she was in the back bedroom. That would have been my nanny and granddad's house, and which is really fucking spooky, by the way, and other people can like verify that. It's really fucking weird. And that is also obviously facing this nursing home. And they had, which is literally across from the haunted flats. Everything is haunted.
On the horse ground.
Yes.
Sorry.
Everything is haunted. And she, like, I don't know whether it was a thing with everyone, but definitely with our family, it was like, you don't look, you don't see, like, just close your eyes and go to sleep. It was a real old Irish thing that was like to stop scaring the kids. And she said she turned around one night and she looked and she was horrified. She seen this woman outside of the window, and she called her mum and dad, and she was like, there's a woman outside the window. And their whole thing was just close your eyes and go to sleep, you didn't see anything. And she kept on saying that, and she said that she seen fear in them. They were terrified because they obviously thought that this was also the Banshee, but they wouldn't say it, and they were like, close your eyes, go to sleep, you didn't see anything. They didn't look at the window. They were just too afraid to even try and entertain this thought that it was the Banshee. And I suppose there's a lot of stories in our family that are similar to that. Another one where I suppose if we're going to talk about 3 stories and him climbing up the gutter to your uncle climbing up the gutter
Spider-Man.
like Spider-Man. There was another story, which is actually my great aunt, who was also an extremely...
I paid the ghost for you fixing the damn door.
She's also extremely spooky, and she
But
is
in
religious.
saying that, she is the most. I've heard stories. I've
which
never
auntie
met
was this
this
one,
lady.
auntie?
What?
Which auntie you talking about? You talking about
Mary.
Rose? Or?
Yeah.
Rose, sorry,
Rose, yeah.
Mary.
Oh, can we talk about
Rose.
Mary in a minute?
Yeah.
Is this the one you're met?
Yeah, it's Rosie.
Well, this lady I have heard has like no fear in her, like
No.
had
This woman has seen it. Wait, which one?
she's
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
Rosie.
Rose who's seen is this the
She's
lady
been
that's
to
been,
exorcisms,
she's been
yeah.
to X, she's so our religion is so strong and so deep rooted within her, but our home was invaded and there was men here with like weapons and tried to rob her, and she was saying God bless your son, and she had no fear of it, and apparently someone said, God, but you're not afraid, and she was saying, well, if God wanted me, I'd love to see God, like if I miss, I love God and all that. So this is all that's all I'd say.
I just want to mention as well, obviously I love you, Aunt Rosie, wherever you are. Hope you're in heaven. I assume you are. Considering she actually is so religious that the priest gave her a plaque on the bench in the church, which is actually a very high regarded thing. There's not a lot of people who have their name on the benches in the churches. I just thought I'd mention that as well, and love you, Rosie. I think everyone loved her, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, she was just...
I didn't even know her, and I love her.
Love you, Rosie, R.I.P. But basically, she actually had a story, and she had a lot of kind of spooky stories that she's seen over the years. And she would say that when she was like that, she was about 8, 9, like she was kind of starting to get a little bit older. She woke up in the middle of the night and she just had that feeling that someone was watching her. And she looked out, and bearing in mind they were in a set of flats, they were 3 stories high, and she seen a Doberman with red eyes staring through her window.
Wait.
There wasn't a balcony.
Wait. I need to pause the story. Wait, no, it'll be no why, because I've never actually heard the story, Tara, okay? And keep in mind, everyone, that Rosie is my... Wait, this is deadly serious.
Katrina.
For the purpose of the story, I don't care. I'll edit it out or something, but just for 2 seconds, okay? Do you want to hear something really fucking messed up?
Yeah.
Right, I've never heard that story before, okay? My sister was hearing whispering in her ears the whole night, and she was telling me, Dad, I've talked about this before.
Last night?
No, this is years ago, but my dad's a mad skeptic, and he swears to the ground that he doesn't believe it and stuff, okay? But listen to this bullshit, okay? Grace, my sister Grace, obviously not Grace. Anyway, you'll hear her stories in the next part. But I've never heard the Doberman story about the red eyes, but this is exactly what my dad's saying after slagging. Really? He was slagging my sister, being like, "Oh, you're an idiot. Oh yeah, someone whispering. Oh, was there someone trying to give you a hug and all that?" That night. I know, but that's how he was like trying to make, like, he was being a dope basically, yeah, right. But my dad seen that exact same thing, because there used to be like a window. I'm pointing, everyone that's listening can't see it. We're in my bedroom, but there used to be a window that could see into the sitting room. This used to be like a playroom, and he woke up, but he woke up and here's what happened, right? He woke up in the middle of the night, right? He doesn't know what time it is. I'm gonna assume it was 3 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah, it was 3 o'clock
But
in the morning.
he first of all, he heard whispering in his ear, right? And he was like, what? So he woke up and he went to look, because he thought he saw someone in the sitting room, because he can see through the window into the sitting room. And he's seeing something. He said he thinks it was a dog with big red eyes in the sitting room. And then my ma was like, what's going on? What are you looking at? And my dad was like, nothing, just go back to bed, it's nothing. And then...
They were sleeping in here?
Yeah, and they were sleeping in my current room, yeah. And then the next day, my dad obviously said it to my sister, being like, yeah, I believe, you know. And my dad's a skeptic, and he's seen what Auntie Rose seen. I've never heard that story about Aunt Rose. That is really creepy.
You've never heard that?
I've never heard that, no. And isn't it weird that my dad was a skeptic and seeing that same thing?
Yeah.
That's so strange.
That would have been something that I was told since I was younger. That she
Never heard it.
And the same thing, it was like, you know, she had said this, and it was like, close your eyes and go to sleep. You didn't see anything. And at the time, wherever their flats were, like, there wasn't a balcony. It wasn't that she was in the first room. It was just that, you know, there was nothing there. So this dog would have had the pure been floating. This dog was flying high, like.
Well, considering what you just said, I had to have been flying. Same thing. How tall is this window? You was looking at it, boys.
Yeah.
It would for
about 5'10".
For him to see the eyes, it would have been about 5'10".
Oh,
So isn't that or a floating dog, or I don't know. But
and it's funny because the house that we're in, there's 3 dogs, and
now there is,
and there's a German Shepherd, and Jesus, that fucking dog is like a human.
And he still won't reach the window. Actually,
he can't reach, and that is like
dog, you'd have to be sitting up on the back of the sofa.
Yeah, it's great because I'm 5'5", and that dog was up to my fucking hip, like
5'4" at least.
Lying bastard, lying fucking bastard. But it's weird, right? You just have so many fucking dogs like in the house. So sorry, Katrina.
Yeah, so that's kind of a good bit. I suppose another backstory, if we're going to go into our Auntie Rosie, she was a formidable woman, definitely in her day. She basically, one of the big things was like Adam said, or like William said, she was a very religious woman, and she was actually so religious that a priest at one stage said that he was going to start an exorcism on this child that he believed was possessed, and she was asked to go to this, and she told us all this story, I think, at one stage or another, because I think she had this thing that, like, she always said she prayed for us every night, and it was this thing that she wanted all the family to be safe. So she told us about this, I think, nearly as a warning. And she said she basically went into this room and this child was there, and she said that the second she walked into this room, her hairs stood on end. She said it was the most evil feeling that she'd ever felt in her entire life. And sorry, Adam is just moving garlic bread.
Because we ordered pizza and got about 17 garlic breads.
But yeah, she basically said that this was the most evil feeling that she'd ever felt in all her life. To the point where she actually felt sick, and I don't think she could stay in the room because it was just so horrible. And it's not the only story that she had either. She had a lot of stories, but she had another.
I just have a quick question for you. Do you think that was like a shift in her life? Because I know she was religious before, but after seeing, do you think that was a shift of like? Because all I heard was a story. I've never heard what happened to her after that or how she reacted to it. Have you ever heard about how she reacted or anything after that? Or
I think her faith in God was
I think her faith in God was strengthened. Like, she would have always said that she was actually going to go and be a nun. Like, she felt the calling from God, and she had definitely had it on her cards that she was going to go and be a nun. And funny enough, she came across a man she was in her 40s, like she was very late in life to be getting married, and I think he didn't last very long. I don't know whether that was the devil doing his work or what happened. She was meant to live a solitary life, and she did. He didn't live I don't even think he lasted 10 years. He died, and she never had kids or anything. And she always
we have a saying in the family is that everyone was basically her child because she had no kids herself, so she treated especially her own what would you call it, nieces and nephews as her own. That's what my dad would even say, and my uncle Jared would always say, oh, that was kind of like her second ma.
Yeah,
like she'd always look after them, make sure they're alright. Just pass you back, sorry.
Yeah. So she definitely just lived she lived a solitary life. She was very she was probably one of the only people. There's very few people I could say that I came across my entire life and I felt complete and utter like peace. I didn't feel worried around her. She definitely always put out a vibe that she was like, you know, she always had the story that she was like, oh, the night before I felt like I was going to die and I told God to take me, and he never took me, and eventually he did take her. Eventually he did. But
just to reiterate, because I know a lot of people would listen to this have different beliefs and stuff like that, we aren't overly religious in the slightest, so like, just to reiterate,
no, we're not.
You know, we're not. This is just
sorry.
We're going over time.
Let's put an amendment in there. Adam Kenny, aka William, is 110% religious. I do believe in God in the afterlife. And Jesus Christ, my Lord and Saviour. Saint Michael, please look after me after talking about all these stories. I'm begging you.
Yeah, of course. No, the same as me, but I'm not overly religious. I'm not like Jesus. I'm not as religious as your Aunt Rosie was and stuff like that. And I obviously I would acknowledge everyone else's religion, and I would appreciate everyone's religious, and yeah, but I love Jesus.
I think, and this is just a personal belief, I think your openness to your specific religion, because I'm not sure, I do believe that, right, there is only one God, And if it's the Christian God, I don't know. I just know that
there's a higher power.
There's a higher power. There, but all religions have a lot of stuff in common. So there's more than likely one all being out there. Okay,
definitely.
but I feel like your trials in life and your
that's a topic for another day.
No. Just this is me saying off, right? What I was saying is like your trials in life are not selected by your religion, but I feel like once you open up yourself to this religion, you can't just accept all the love. There's also the bad side, and like Muslims would believe in the jinn. Jinn is like very bad spirits, which is actually very similar to demons and stuff.
Yeah.
Same with Jewish people have another form of demons which they call something else, but they all have the same tricks up their sleeves and the same type of backstory and stuff.
My whole opinion is,
but I feel like because obviously we're Christians, it opens ourselves up to this specific sect of that's how we understand what we're experiencing.
Maybe that's what we interpret as our experience. I definitely believe it's definitely we all believe in the same thing. It's just that we all have different interpretations of it.
Now we have Marcella. What obviously you're a native of Mexico. What you would obviously be, would your belief be quite strong, and your parents' belief? Would you be Catholic? Or
I'm in Mexico. We definitely are like very strong Catholics. Especially my dad. He's like, he's very like he's so religious. I was like raised in this really Catholic environment, and I do know a lot of things that most people don't know about the Catholic Church, because I was even and what do you call that guy that helps the father?
Altar.
So I was that. So I am very familiarized with that. So I grew up, obviously there's a lot of beliefs, and you learn that obviously what you're taught is not the only thing that exists. I do believe that there's something bigger than us, because there's like, especially in my lowest moments, there's always something that keeps me going. So I do believe that there's something bigger than me. I do consider myself a Catholic, but I don't think that is the only thing that exists.
Yeah, I'm the exact same.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I agree.
That is the thing.
Am I wrong?
No.
Yeah, like I do believe that is the thing that I was told how to do. Like, so that is the way that I communicate with God, because it is the only way that I know how to do it. But like I do respect everything, and I do like in regards to all of this like spooky stuff, I do believe in that. But at the same time, I feel that I am so close to God that I am like sort of scared to be close to the other side. You know what I mean? Because as I was saying to you before, like I do suffer like with sleep paralysis, and I have seen some weird stuff. So I do decide to like not to embrace the whole thing, because if I do, I think I will be terrified. And like I have a twin brother, so I was never alone ever. Like even when I was a kid, we were always in the room. We were never alone. So I am not used to being alone. Like I always had like a brother or a roommate, like someone that was with me in the room, like someone that was with me.
Same. I only got my own room.
Same.
And like even as I said, like Adam's brother is my husband, and he says it's funny because he says the only time that I slept in peace was when I was with my brother, and I was like, is there something wrong with me?
wait.
You know?
Yeah, Simon, me too, man. Me too.
That's what he says, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but like until now, like there's been a few things that do scare me. I do
said
feel
there was something happened to you just the other night.
like I got to this house and they were like messing and saying that there's been a few things in this house that's been going on, and that it's like sort of scary, and I'm like yeah I don't believe in that. I do, but it's just hard for me to like say it, because I know that I'm too sensitive and that I might get like too scared. But like I have experienced a few weird things. Like I sometimes I feel a lot of cold. And I know it's not just because I'm Mexican and I'm in Ireland. It's just like, you know, it's weirdly cold. And like I was telling Adam, like even 2 days ago, it was like super weird. Like so my husband works at night, and he left, and I sleep on my own. But as I said, since I am a girl, I don't like sleeping on my own. It's like it's horrible for me. So I decide to go to bed at either like 1 a.m. in the morning or like 4. I don't like to go to bed around 3.
I'm the same. You stay up.
That's
you go to
me.
sleep early.
Yeah.
I
know.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Especially in that room, because honestly, like you don't know this house, but it's spooky. And, like, so that day I was sleeping and I went to bed at around like 1:30, and I'm not a light sleeper. Like I can't. Like in Mexico, I live next to the train station, and that doesn't wake me up. So you know, like I don't wake up easily. But that day, I woke up because I felt like literally the bed was shaking.
Oh my god!
It was like someone was shaking the bed, and it was just so weird. And I woke up, and even like my eyes were open, and I was shaking, and I knew that it wasn't me.
Yeah.
And it was just weird.
And I think with that, we lead on to our next segment, which is my haunted house. I think it's a good lead on. It's a good cliffhanger a little bit, because I have a lot of stories here, and Monica can corroborate. And
Marcella,
damn, these pseudonyms aren't working for me, man. Anyways, I appreciate everyone tuning in, and stay spooky.